Welcome back to the Flannel Rocket, the show with everything you need to know about Michigan's startup scene. I'm Pete Martin, and I am super happy to be sharing the news with you about the incredible things happening in our state. Today, we're diving into the first statewide job board for Michigan's venture-backed startups, an update on how Newlab is doing after their first 2 years in Detroit, a potential funding crisis for the state's innovation ecosystem, what to expect at this week's Mackinac Policy Conference, and so much more. Let's go. Okay, we have to start with this one. The MSU Research Foundation, this is where I work, spoiler alert, the MSU Research Foundation has officially launched the first statewide job board for Michigan's high-growth startups. This is a huge, huge deal. Let me tell you why this is an absolute game changer for Michigan. So first off, I spent 12 years out of state in places like New York, Chicago, and Austin. In each of those cities, you could go to built-in that city. So you can go to builtinaustin.com, builtinnyc.com, builtinchicago.com, and you can find the companies and jobs that are there. Like, it helps with this feeling that the area is a tech hub, right? It's very easy to feel that Austin is the place where a bunch of cool things are happening when you can go to builtinaustin.com and see all the jobs and all the companies that are being built there. Those sites have become a bit bloated over time. There's now like large corporate, and there's also these consulting jobs mixed in with all the startup jobs. And I think that what has been launched here in Michigan has the potential to be even better. It's a focused look into Michigan's venture-backed startup scene and the incredible companies that are being built here. By the way, there is still no built-in any city in Michigan. There's no built-in Detroit. There's no built-in Ann Arbor. There's no built-in Grand Rapids. There is no site that was dedicated to the startup scene for any city in Michigan, but that's okay. We don't need a job board for any individual city. Our startup scene is built different. It stretches across geographies. It's across cities. It's across peninsulas. We're building it together with this common thread of Midwest grit and culture that makes being here so awesome. Now, the MSU Research Foundation has the largest portfolio in the state. That makes this job board effectively the de facto place for anyone to find opportunities to work at the incredible companies being built in Michigan and by Michiganders. It also means that Michiganders living outside of the state, and anyone else for that matter that's interested in Michigan, can see the opportunities for them to bring their talents to our state. It's about perception, right? If you believe there's opportunity somewhere, you'll find it. This job board shows that there are real great companies being built in the state and that you can join them to build something world-changing from right here. It's an absolute game changer. As of right now, there are over 100 jobs available on the job board. I expect that number is going to skyrocket in the coming months to a handful of examples. You can look at First Ignite. They're hiring for a full stack developer, account executives, product designers. Aries, the first open source broker-dealer to get approved by FinRez, hiring for a sysadmin and DevOps lead. They're hiring for brokerage, margin, and risk officers, QA leads. Grounded is hiring for a senior financial analyst and a head of their machine shop. Banff Health, which we talked about multiple times now, is hiring for someone in nuclear medicine and diagnostic radiology and an MRI technologist. Great opportunities are here. Great jobs are here. I highly encourage you, go to this job board. It's jobs.msufoundation.org. I'll put a link in the video for sure, but go to this job board, check it out. If you're looking for opportunities, go there. And this is directly tied to the work that I do on a daily basis. So if there's anything that's calling out to you in particular, find me. I know lots of these founders, happy to connect you with them too. Next, New Enterprise Forum. If you don't know about these folks, they've been around since 1986. It's this dedicated group of business professionals that want to help entrepreneurs build successful businesses. Every month, they hold a forum where founders can showcase their companies. They occasionally have these pitch competitions. They call it a pitch pit. And they discuss topics relevant to entrepreneurs and investors here in Michigan. Now, I had the opportunity to present at NEF this month about Michigan startup and entrepreneurship past, present, and future. They essentially gave me free rein to positively rant at people for about 30 minutes on how Michigan has had such an incredibly outsized impact on the entire world in a tiny window of time. Like, think of what we've done in automotive. We did cars, we did mass manufacturing, we built the middle class. Suburbs exist because of cars. Everything that we've done in defense, which was only possible because of what we did in mass manufacturing. It's nuts. It is nuts what we have done. We got to talk a lot about that, how, yes, we've had this tiny blip where things got really bad, but we are winning again now, and we got to look a little bit at what is coming next. It was super fun. I had an absolute blast preparing for that event. It gave me a chance to dive really deeply into Michigan's history and how we built an innovation engine through this culture of, this is like a blue-collar culture of grit, of people that make things, of builders. So I've got some fun examples for you. I won't go into the whole thing, but I'll include a link to that video if you want to watch it too. But did you know that the flu vaccine was invented in Michigan? I didn't know that. It just blows my mind that I didn't know that, but the flu vaccine was invented right here in Michigan. The polio vaccine was invented by a member of that same team that invented the flu vaccine. Jonas Salk invented the polio vaccine. He was outside of Michigan, but they did the clinical trials, 1.8 million children in Michigan. They announced the success of those trials at the Rackham Auditorium in Ann Arbor. Claude Shannon, the father of information theory, is from Michigan. He's from Petoskey. The information theory is this concept that electrons can perform logical operations. Like, this guy's the father of modern computing, you know? He's from Michigan. John T. Parsons, the father of the second industrial revolution, the person that invented NC machines, effectively the precursor for CNC machines and precision manufacturing, is from Traverse City. Did you know that we were the first state in the country to mandate free K-12 education statewide in our Constitution? I didn't know that. I think it's awesome. That's super cool. Anyway, just a handful of those things. We talked about so many more, and it was a lot of fun to be able to do. I think I'm going to do it a couple more times here in short order, which will be really fun too. And I do love that how at the end of this presentation, folks were calling out, well, what about this? What about that? More cool things that we've done as Michiganders. Because there's so many things. There just wasn't enough time to name them all. It was awesome. Had a great time. Check out New Enterprise Forum when you can. If you're in Ann Arbor, it seems like a really cool monthly event that's happening to help entrepreneurs get better at what they're doing. And it was a lot of fun to give that presentation. Next, let's talk about Newlab. I had the opportunity to attend an event where Newlab talked about their first 2 years operating in Detroit, the successes that they've achieved to date, and what's coming next for them. So since they've started, I've been saying that there were more than 100 companies that are being built in Newlab, and that's accurate, but it's better than that. Newlab has become this beacon for innovation in Detroit. There are now over 150 startups being built at Newlab, mainly in hard tech and clean tech and mobility, but there are others too, right? Like Art Club, which is they're democratizing access to art for everybody, right? Art Club is being built in Newlab. And there's advanced materials companies like Ecosphere Organics that's operating out of Newlab too. And there's some other fun facts that I learned at that event. I did not know that you can get a permit at the Transportation Innovation Zone. So if you're in the mobility space, this is something that you should be looking into. You can get a permit at the Transportation Innovation Zone in 24 to 48 hours. So you can be operating safely in public really, really quickly. The Bagley Mobility Hub. I did not know that there were 30 EV chargers and that those exist for startups to work with them, right? And so you can be partnering with Newlab and the Bagley Mobility Hub. I did not know that Newlab partnered with the Port of Monroe to do water testing. I had no idea. That's awesome. I also didn't know that they're in talks with Amtrak to potentially bring passenger trains back to Detroit near Michigan Central, not directly into Michigan Central, the old train station. I also didn't know that there's a potential hotel partner coming in at a property right next to Newlab, because that whole area around Newlab and Michigan Central is growing rapidly. Of course it is. That's happening across the entire state of Michigan. But these areas where folks are looking at and spending a lot of time and effort on entrepreneurship and innovation, that's where we're seeing such explosive growth. Super cool to see. Next on our list, Bamboo is coming to Grand Rapids. If you don't know about Bamboo, they're a co-working space that started in Detroit in 2013, expanded to Royal Oak, then expanded to Ann Arbor. I think just last year expanded to Ann Arbor. And coming this year, they're expanding to Grand Rapids. This new location is going to be the largest Bamboo yet, fostering community, creating density. It's going to be the central place for technologists, founders, and organizations to just collaborate together. They're also reopening a 200-person theater, a 4,000 square foot outdoor patio space, and an art gallery turned co-working lounge and venue. Super cool. Massive congratulations to the wonderful Amanda Lewan and her awesome team. Love those folks. Bamboo is very cool, and they've always been about the community. They're just building the right way. It's very, very fun to see. Next bit of news, you might have heard about this, but this is something that I think we all need to be paying attention to. There's a potential funding crisis at the state level. The Michigan Senate recently released a draft budget that includes a $59 million cut to the MEDC's business development and community revitalization programs. These are some of the core tools that the state uses to attract companies, create jobs, and breathe life back into downtowns across Michigan. The business development program provides grants and loans to companies that are creating jobs and investing in Michigan. It's one of the main tools the state uses to stay competitive when companies are deciding where to grow. And the community revitalization program helps close funding gaps for redevelopment projects, things like cleaning up old industrial sites or restoring historic buildings. It's aimed at getting private investment flowing into places that just need a jump start. Both of those programs are facing major cuts. And on top of that, there's a proposed $15.6 million reduction to Michigan's startup and innovation support system, specifically programs like M-Track and the Tech Transfer Talent Network, or T3N. These programs are focused on helping researchers turn their work into real companies and getting new technologies out of the lab and into the market. If the cuts go through, it could be a significant setback for early stage innovation in the state. It's still just a draft budget, so it's not final, but it does seem to signal a shift in how the state might be thinking about its role in economic development. I'll be following closely this summer, and I think anyone building or backing startups in Michigan should be paying attention to this too. All right, let's move on to some VC and startup news. First on the list is Autbooks. The Detroit-based fintech company just raised $40 million in growth debt from Runway Growth Capital and acquired Allied Payment Network out of Indiana. If you don't know, Autbooks builds tools that lets small businesses send invoices, get paid, and manage their books all inside of their existing bank accounts. They serve over 1,000 community banks and credit unions today. And with this deal, they're doubling down on embedded fintech and pushing to become the go-to back office for small businesses inside of community banks. Congratulations to Stephen and the team on the acquisition and on the additional capital raise and what it looks to be a really fun road ahead for all of you. Next, TI Automotive. This is actually kind of huge news, and I didn't see it for almost a month, and I hate that. ABC Technologies has acquired TI Fluid Systems in a $2.2 billion deal. This move is combining two large suppliers in the automotive space to create a $5.4 billion Tier 1 supplier with nearly 35,000 employees across 26 countries with their headquarters here in Auburn Hills, Michigan. Unbelievably cool. Again, it happened like a month ago and it just didn't hit my radar. And it's not necessarily early startup news, but it's super cool news. So we're sharing super cool news on this show, in addition to things that are directly startup related. Next, directly startup related, Churchspace raised a $1.2 million round from Black Ops Ventures and Minor Capital, which is run by Doug Song of Duo Security. They also moved to Detroit, Michigan from Houston. Churchspace helps churches turn their extra spaces into community hubs and revenue streams. So think events, outreach programs, and last mile delivery services. And it totally makes sense that they would move to Detroit, because Detroit, if you didn't know, is the most church-dense city in the country. Super cool to see. Welcome to Michigan, to the founders of Churchspace. Y'all are awesome. Next, Eumelanin is available at Macy's, but we're not going to talk about that yet because there's so much other stuff to cover. Eumelanin, the founder of Eumelanin is Deirdre Roberson, and she's also the co-founder of The Lab Drawer, which is a phenomenal edtech company that provides like STEAM kits for kids that you should check out. And her co-founder at The Lab Drawer, Dr. Alicia Gabriel, is also awesome. They're both phenomenal people. They are also the co-founders of the Motor City STEAM Foundation, which provides STEAM education infused with art and creativity to minority and underprivileged students. These ladies are absolutely amazing. They are scientists and they are entrepreneurs, and in Deirdre's case, fashion icons. Now let's dive into Eumelanin. So, Eumelanin combines science and fashion and history to make an incredible luxury brand. The logo is based on the chemical structure of the molecule Eumelanin, which is the pigmentation for black and brown people's skin, which, again, don't look at me for this. I know nothing about this, but it is super cool, and I just love the mix of science and fashion and history. So the color palette is named after great black and brown people that have contributed significantly to the fashion industry. This video will not do it justice. Please check out the website to learn more about the incredible people like Zelda Wynn Valdez, the first African-American to own a store on Broadway in New York, Highland Booker from Detroit, who also went to Cass Tech. I feel like I need to call that out anytime somebody goes to Cass Tech because there's so many cool people that have come from Cass Tech. Highland Booker was the first black couturier to lead a fashion house. Willie Smith, one of the most successful black designers in America, and Elizabeth Keckley, who was born into slavery, then became a successful dressmaker and entrepreneur, and was the personal dressmaker for First Lady Mary Todd Lincoln. Super cool. So, Deirdre shared a post on LinkedIn about how Eumelanin was available in Macy's. It became extremely viral, over 4,000 reactions on this post, and sold out, I'm going to just say immediately. You should absolutely check out Eumelanin. Go to the site directly. Again, I'll put the link in the comments here. If you want to learn about science, if you want to learn about fashion, if you want to learn about history, you can do all three on that one site. Next, a little bit of news on Our Next Energy, the battery tech unicorn here in Michigan. Battery storage on the U.S. power grid is absolutely booming. It is up 66% in the last year alone, and it's expected to grow 10 times by 2030. To meet that demand, Our Next Energy just dropped 3 new grid products, all made right here in the U.S., which is extremely important. We're going to get into that. So first is their 314 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery cell, their LFP cell. You can think of it like this core building block of grid storage, the individual battery. It's big, it's durable, it's designed to power anything from homes to data centers, and because it's made in the U.S., it qualifies for a 10% federal investment tax credit bonus under the Inflation Reduction Act, which is a huge deal for developers and grid operators, and Our Next Energy are being very loud about that. Second is the Aries Grid Module. This is the full battery pack, so think of the individual battery as that 314 amp hour LFP cell. The Aries Grid Module is the battery pack. It's all of the batteries put together, built for safety and reliability. It's packed with a bunch of smart features to stop overheating before it starts, and is actually based on technology that Our Next Energy originally developed for electric vehicles. All right, third is their new grid battery management system. This is the brain of the operation. It controls power flow, keeps everything running efficiently, and makes sure the batteries stay safe over time. Now, Our Next Energy is going all in on the American-made grid storage system and positioning themselves as the best choice for companies looking to build grid-scale clean energy projects in the U.S. Super cool to see. Extremely relevant right now when you look at the state of the broader international supply chain and you look at tariffs and you look at all of the things that are going on right now that are a little bit crazy. Our Next Energy is creating an American-made battery, American-made grid storage system, and they're setting themselves up as the go-to place for anyone to buy batteries in the U.S. All right, let's talk about some events that you should know about. First is the Mackinac Policy Conference, which takes place this week on Mackinac Island. Strong focus on entrepreneurship and innovation. This year's theme is Michigan's Equation for Impact. There's going to be a session titled Innovation at Risk, which highlights the critical role of higher education research and economic development. You'll have panelists including MSU's president, Kevin Guskowitz, and Dr. Mona Hanna discussing how federal funding cuts could hinder advancements in sectors like healthcare and manufacturing. There's another key panel titled Hear How High-Growth Enterprises Make It in Michigan, which features the leaders of Banff Health, StockX, Opener, and Ticker, sharing insights on how they are scaling their startups right here in Michigan. Pumped for that one. Last year's keynote, Governor Whitmer was focused what felt entirely on innovation. Love that she made the shout out to Michigan Founders Fund, where I was, for the work that we were doing with an incredibly small team to further the founder culture here in Michigan. And she also introduced Michigan's first Chief Innovation Ecosystem Officer last year. And so this is the conference where big things are announced for the state, across the state. Really looking forward to see what comes out of Mackinac Policy Conference this year. Next is the Global Entrepreneurship Congress, which is happening June 2nd to 5th in Indianapolis. I am headed down there with a busload of Michigan ecosystem leaders, a handful of founders that are going to be there too. I think Midwest House is going to be there putting on an activation. It's also the first time the U.S. has hosted this event since 2009. It's shaping up to be a major gathering for anyone involved in startups, policy, or innovation. I think there's going to be like 10,000 people there. Like it's a big deal. Mark Cuban is headlining the events. He's bringing his experience as an entrepreneur and investor to the main stage. The agenda includes sessions on building inclusive ecosystems, measuring impact, scaling innovation. There's also this Startup Nations Ministerial where a bunch of policymakers from around the world are going to discuss strategies to support entrepreneurship. For those of us from Michigan, it's a chance to connect with our peers on the global stage, share what's working in our state, and bring back new ideas to strengthen what's happening here. So I'm pumped for that. I hope to go down and get a tremendous amount of ideas to bring back to Michigan and share with you all. Let me know if you're going to be there, if you're planning on being at Global Entrepreneurship Congress. Would love to line up time to chat while there. Next, We've got Summit Detroit, which is happening June 5th to 8th. And it is not just another conference. It is the final flagship event of the Summit series. They have chosen Detroit to close out this chapter. The Summit series has been happening since 2008, and they are ending Summit where the future is being made again, right here in Michigan. I love this quote from their site. This is directly from their site. Detroit brims with possibility. Detroit is our teacher. Detroit used to be behind, but is now ahead. Detroit has made it through. I love it. That's emblematic of, yes, Detroit, but all of Michigan. All of Michigan. So cool. I would love to go to this thing, but tickets are like $5,000 a piece, so I will not be there. But my FOMO will be off the charts, and I cannot wait to hear the outcomes of that conference. All right, last thing for you, a fun fact. Did you know that the largest manufacturer of bowling equipment in the world is here in Michigan? Brunswick Bowling Products. Moses Bensinger from Kentucky was a huge fan of bowling. He helped organize the American Bowling Congress, which standardized the rules and organized competitions. And he also established a major manufacturing presence in Muskegon, Michigan in 1906, which became Brunswick Bowling Products. They are now the largest bowling equipment manufacturer in the entire world. They make bowling balls, they make pins, they make pin setters, bowling lanes, scoring systems, basically anything to do with bowling, they make. So the next time you go bowling, look for the Brunswick name, and if you see it, know that it was made here in Michigan. Super cool. Okay, thank you. Again, sincerely appreciate you for watching. Thank you. If you like this content, I hope you like and subscribe to this video. I hope you tell literally every single person that you know that they should be watching it too, and sharing the news that's happening in Michigan with everybody else. And we'll catch you next time on the Flower Rocket.